Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Brothers channel, and in this video we're going to be talking about some of my favorite features of a basketball shoe. And like when I'm reviewing a shoe, these are the key categories I'm looking for, just in my opinion, to see if the shoe is a good performer or not. Because each category is weighed differently, and this is just me personally, and everyone's different. Some people might think traction isn't as important as cushion, or fit or support is way more important to you than to me or to someone else. If you guys want to tell us your top categories, tell us down in the comment section below. So I just got a shoe, and we're gonna go over my favorite categories. So starting off with number one, the most important category for me is traction. And traction, obviously for me, I do a lot of lateral movements. I'm small, so I'm a little bit quicker than most people. And if I'm sliding around, like for a step back or something, and I lose like half second or something because I slide, especially if the defender is taller than me, then they will block my shot. So traction is super important. Obviously, you don't want to be sliding around when you're playing ball either. So it's just something that you can't fix. If it's bad, it's bad. I mean, I guess you can always try a different colorway, but if it's bad, you're screwed. You can't really fix it, and you just gotta live with it. And it's just a deal breaker, because like you're playing, you're sliding around, can't really play, so traction is my number one. And if the traction's bad but everything else is good on the shoe, I still really can't play it, you know what I'm saying? So that's why it's so important to me. My number two is weight and bulk. If the shoe's kind of heavy, that's okay. If it goes to 13-14 ounces, which is heavy for me, in my shoe size, then that's fine. I would say something that's a little bit more annoying to me is bulk. For example, the BYWs, or I don't know, just a bulky shoe. It has a lot of stuff in the midsole. Even if the shoe's moderately light, it just feels clunky and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So I just don't like it. That's why I really like Curry's line, because his shoes are very, very light. His upper, the materials are super thin, not very minimal padding. So that's just something that's important to me. There's a lot of people where that's not important, especially if you're a big man, Next is fit. Fit is very important because I like to have my shoes very snug. I like to have the materials hug my foot very tightly. Not to the point where I get needles or I can't feel my feet, but I like a pretty snug fit overall. That's why I like Kyrie's line, and also KD's. KD's are a little bit narrower than Kyrie's, so it's a little bit more comfortable in KD's line for me personally. Kyrie's have always fit me very well, and same thing with Curry's line. And something that I can't really stand for fit is when there's a lot of toe space. I don't know why. I mean, it is something you can fix though. You can double sock, you can put another insole in, but that's just kind of annoying. I just want to put one sock on, and your feet get hot if you double sock. You don't get as good court feel if you put another insole in, stuff like that. But yeah, having space on top of the toe here and kind of in the midfoot is kind of annoying. Length is a little okay, as long as it's not too long. So that's just for me. But for some reason, I have a friend, well, I know two people, I know three people where they wear their shoes two sizes up. So I was getting my friend a pair of shoes for, I think it was Christmas for his birthday. I was like, what size are you? He's 10 or whatever, 9.5. I was like, okay. So I got him a pair of shoes. I was like, here. And I believe it was the Kobe 9. It was a long time ago. And so I gave it to him at the gym, and then he put it on. And I was going like this to check how the fit was, and I was there was literally this much space. I was like, dude, this is way too big. He's like, that's how I like to have my shoes. I was like, dude, what the hell's wrong with you, man? And he was literally my size for size 8. But everyone's different in what they like, so whatever, I guess. Alright, next is support. Support is very important as well, and support is something you can't fix. So I guess support would be a little bit more important than fit, but the thing is, in most basketball shoes, 95% of basketball shoes, lateral containment is very important. You do a lot of lateral movements, in basketball. So, I mean, as far as design goes, I mean, designers are looking to have a lot of lateral support, but sometimes they don't. For example, in the KD11, my foot would slide on the KD11 a lot. There was really no lateral support or caging, so it would just slide. So support is very important when it's bad, but I really never have any issues with that. And ankle support and all that is something that I don't really care about. I like to have my shoes low, but I want to have lateral stability. So as long as it's a low to the ground cushion, it's a wide base, and I feel laterally stable, and I don't feel like this where I'm gonna roll my ankle in the shoe, then it's fine with me. Of course, heel slippage is something that's very, very annoying, but a lot of shoes haven't had that problem in a while. Alright, next for me is heel to toe transition, and that's pretty important. It's more of like a cherry on top, kind of. Like if the shoe isn't super smooth, it's not like a deal breaker for me as long as it's like not on like the Jordan 12 though. Like the Jordan 12 is so bad. Like literally the shape is a 90-degree angle in the heel. You can't bend the midsole and outsole at all, really. And then it's mostly flat. So it feels like a boot. It slaps the floor and all that. So that's like an extreme example. But most shoes, you know, there's a little bit of a curve up here in the heel as well as in the forefoot. I mean, the Kyrie 5 doesn't have a lot of flex here, like at all in the midsole. But because of the shape, this like rocking motion, it still feels pretty smooth, you know? So it's pretty hard to make the heel to toe transition pretty bad. But like if the heel to toe transition is smooth, then it just feels super nice, very fluid, and I can feel a lot quicker on my feet, just in my opinion. So I like to have a very smooth heel to toe transition. The categories after this are something that aren't as important to me. So like materials, I mean, as long as, I always say this, as long as the material is like thin, there's not a lot of bulk or a lot of puffiness, a lot of foam, and the material is like soft, it's relatively soft, it breaks in nicely, it conforms to my foot. Like when I move, it moves with my foot, it doesn't hurt or anything, it's not stiff, and it's like supportive, then it's fine with me. You know, like if it's a mesh material, a knit, like a synthetic, I don't really care as long as it just does all those things. So materials really isn't that important. Obviously, if it's a super nice material like the CP3.12, then that's just like, oh, that's super nice, you know, that's the sexy time for your feet. But it's not something that's ever really a deal breaker, especially in modern shoes now. A lot of companies are using like mesh materials, so it's kind of hard to do materials bad, because like 7 to 10 years ago they would do like synthetic materials, they would do leather materials, and it would be super stiff, and then that would be a problem. But it's not a huge problem nowadays. And then next is cushion. Cushion isn't a huge deal for me. I mean, obviously if the cushion is super nice, like the KD12, the KD13, or the PG4, then I'm like, oh, this is super nice, and I love to have a nice cushion. It's just like, I don't mind, not super crappy cushion, but like I don't mind the mediocre cushion. You know, like the Kyrie 5. Like the heel, I like to have a good amount of heel compression, and especially like the foam, I like to have it softer, but then there's like not a lot of heel compression in the Kyrie 5. The Zoom Turbo unit, let's just say there wasn't a Zoom Turbo in this, then I still wouldn't mind the cushion that much. You know, as long as like it doesn't hurt my feet like a lot for impact protection, it's low to the ground, and I feel responsive in the cushion, then it's not a huge deal. It's not a deal breaker. The only reason I wouldn't be able to play in the shoe because of the cushion is if it was like the Jordan 1, you know? It's just rubber underneath your foot, and it just, every time you land, it hurts like crazy. But other than that, most of the time, I don't mind it as much, but if it's super nice, then it's just that extra cherry on top, and it's just super nice, you know? Alright, next is ventilation. My feet do get hot, and of course, if it gets hot, there's all that moisture in the shoe, and then you can get blisters. But then if you play a lot and you've already had blisters in the same place, then you usually don't get blisters. So it's not a huge deal, it's just kind of a minor inconvenience. I remember one shoe that really bothered me though, which was the 0.1. There's absolutely no ventilation, and my feet were so hot in that. But other than that, like, it's never really a huge deal. I really appreciate it though if a shoe has good ventilation though, that's super nice, but it's not a huge deal, especially for performance, for me anyway. And then last but not least would be aesthetics. Aesthetics have nothing to do with performance, obviously, but there are a lot of people where I tell them, like they ask me, I'm like, okay, get this shoe, and they're like, nah, that's not a great looking shoe, and they don't get it. I'm like, well, you asked me what a good basketball shoe was. To me, it's not important. It's not important to performance, but I think it's pretty damn important to like a lot of other people, which isn't a big deal, you know? You can't really blame someone for wanting a good looking pair of shoes, right? Anyways, that's just my list of like the most important categories. Again, tell us what your list would be down in the comment section below. But that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next one.